I am Jamie Buckland with the West Virginia Few Families United for Education, and I am thrilled to be back doing our Few features since we paused in the spring, and it's exciting to have a returning guest to this year's inaugural Few feature that we're starting back. We have Urvi with Great Minds Virtual and Lyndsay. And so, Urvi, why don't you go ahead and get us started? Just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Great Minds.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jamie, for having us back. We're so excited to be here today, speaking to your wonderful audience. Hi, everybody. My name is Urvi. I am the head of School at Great Minds Virtual. We are a private, independent, but fully tuition-free school that is serving students across the country. So we're really excited that the last time we chatted, we hadn't fully opened yet. We were in our year 0 planning for our first year. And I'm so excited to say we've had about 10 months already of our first school year under our belts. They've been wildly successful. We have had a full class of 6th graders from across the country, from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast and everything in between. And we're excited to be launching our 7th grade class in addition to our 6th grade coming this fall.
Exciting. And Lyndsay, you've recently joined the Great Minds team, so it's great to have you on this morning. If you want to, or afternoon, I guess now, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you've gotten started with Great Minds.
Sure. Thank you, Jamie. So I'm Lyndsay Lack with Great Minds Virtual. I am our communications and marketing specialist. And I've been with the team for almost a year now, not quite, but
Okay, yeah.
yeah. One thing that I love about our school is that it's in its first year, but it's really unique because it offers opportunities for social, emotional learning and community building, which when we talk to our students and families, they say that's one of their favorite things is the events we have for families to attend virtually and being able to make those connections. And some people think that it's hard to build relationships over Zoom, but it is possible. So
it is possible. And you guys, we can do hard things, and you're doing that. I love that. I often say, like, we're in the work of providing opportunity where there wasn't any. And you guys are really helping to demonstrate that with the work that you're doing. So I want our audience to hear some of the nuts and bolts about Great Minds Virtual, because it is unique and it's different. And some of our viewers may be looking because or watching this today because they're interested in the Hope Scholarship in West Virginia. And often I will tell families they may still be interested in Great Minds Virtual because they could use their Hope funds for other qualifying expenses if they were to apply and be accepted into Great Minds Virtual, because you are tuition free. So let's start out by talking about who you serve. I know, Urvi, you were talking about last year, you guys only had 6th grade. So let's talk a little bit about who the target audience is for Great Minds Virtual this year.
Absolutely. So we are admitting students right now. We're very much heavy in our admission process for rising 6th graders and rising 7th graders. So if your child is currently in 5th grade or 6th grade, they would be eligible for our fall openings for our class of 6th graders and 7th graders. In a couple of cases, we have also admitted students that are a little bit younger or maybe a little bit older that might need to be placed in 6th or 7th grade. So don't be shy to reach out to at least find out if your child is eligible, regardless of that typical age range for 6 to 7.
I love that. And can you tell us a little bit about, what type of family may benefit from partnering with Great Minds for the academic year this year? I know for my own family, because we've educated outside of conventional schooling, for the last 16 years, I like to say that sometimes you can figure out what is for you by finding out like what it's not. So, this may not be for some families, but if you could just talk a little bit about who might find something like Great Minds beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is actually a really interesting question because our families range every sort of reason for coming to a virtual school. But I'll give sort of the key reason. So the first is a large percent of our population of families homeschooled their children up until this past year. And then they were really eager to continue homeschooling, but they weren't feeling prepared to teach that sixth grade curriculum and onward. So they found us, so their child still gets to be at home with the family, and they're in a very structured program with us virtually. We have other families that are also homeschooling, but they wanted their child to have exposure to other children of their same age while still being at home. And so we provide that opportunity for not only that really rigorous academic learning, but all the social connections that come with being part of a classroom. We've been so lucky this year that our kids, while they span the entire country, a few of them over our holidays actually drove across state lines to meet each other in person, which we're just so touched by, because these students, many of who didn't have friends in their areas, were making friends through our virtual school, and hopefully have lifelong friendships that they'll have forever. And then I also wanted to mention another pocket of our families, which a large pocket of them came to us because their child did really do well in an in-person school. And then the COVID-19 pandemic happened. Everybody was thrown into some form of virtual learning. And all of a sudden they realized, oh my goodness, my child is doing better academically or better socially. And that would never have been something we learned unless we didn't go through this crisis. And so after everything opened up, their families decided to find a virtual option and place them instead of their in-person school, which I think is quite exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And Lyndsay, I wanted to kind of pull you into this. So what have you seen? Because I am not a communications or marketing guru. And my team that has worked with me over the last year and a half would tell you that often I do the opposite of what someone who is well versed in something like that would do. So I would love to get your take and have you share about what families are benefiting from, like what kind of stories, because you guys get to do that storytelling aspect. So if you could just maybe share a story or two that you've heard over the last year from a family.
Of course. One demographic that it's a story that we keep seeing being reflected in a way that we're excited that Great Minds Virtual can be a solution for families. Families that have children that are super active, maybe in some kind of an extracurricular, like we have a child actor, we have dancers, we have cheerleaders, we have, working kids that are building careers for themselves at a young age. And this kind of schooling is really helping them do that. And so, you still have to come to class, you still have to be present like a normal school, but you don't have to physically go to a building every day. We've had a couple of applicants who currently drive hours every day to a school of their choice. And it's hard. As adults, we know commuting to and from can be challenging. And so it's hard for kids too. And so online school, remote learning is helping for this age demographic as well.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit more about the nuts and the bolts. Like, how do you serve these families? So what does it look like? I get confused on the asynchronous, the synchronous. So you have to talk to me like I'm 5 most days again. So tell us a little bit about what that looks like for the parent. Like, my daughter is doing her online assessments and I'm like, we need a laptop. We need our browser. Like, I have to download something. And that can kind of be like anxiety inducing for families to think about logging on and having the headset and trying to interact. So just talk a little bit about how you serve them, what that looks like.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jamie, because the logistics of our program are very different than in person, where, you might go back to school and get all your materials. It's not quite like that for us.
Yeah.
What we do in the summer is we ship everything out to families. So we ship a whole package of technology, including a laptop and anything else they might need tech-wise. And then we ship another large box of all of the materials for the whole school year. So these are textbooks and readers and manipulatives for math. We do a lot of hands-on work in science. So we ship all of those materials as well. So I would say our teachers are very very thoughtful in what our kids will need and projecting for the whole year. And then at the beginning of the school year, we do a little bit of tech onboarding because the classroom is their laptop and we want them to be familiar and comfortable. So we train them on how to use their laptops. We set them up with Zoom accounts because all of our classes are on Zoom. And then we have a critical about 5 or 6 ed tech tools that are critical for our program. So we teach students how to use those as well. You had asked us sort of about asynchronous, synchronous, and that's a question we get all the time about what does your program really look like? And we have a Monday through Friday schedule. So imagine a typical middle school schedule, sort of an 8 to 3 program based on your own time zone. And students start their day roughly at 8 a.m. We've got a live advisory group where you're in a session for about 30 minutes with 10 of your peers and a teacher. So you really get to know who these people are throughout the year and build those relationships. And then students go to about 5 live classes from there at about 50 minutes a piece with breaks in between, including a lunch break. And then at the end of the day, sometimes we have clubs. So we offer virtual clubs, everything from gardening, which I think is so cool, to an art club, to creative writing. We have a very popular coding club. So students get to sample a lot of the extracurriculars. And we also host what we call intervention periods. So these are for students that maybe need a little bit more support in math or a little bit more in reading. And we put them in small groups with one teacher and really give them the help that they need to close. Again, we're still seeing the learning gaps that got created during the pandemic. We're still working to close those. So we provide that whole class, support, but then we zip it down into this smaller group student support so we can meet each child where they're at.
Yeah. I may need to just sign up for your onboarding because I still feel like I don't know how to use Zoom. So my staff would probably appreciate my staff, which voluntarily helps me and saves me these days, would appreciate me better understanding the tech pieces, but that doesn't sound very overwhelming. So you guys are actually partnering with them and kind of walking them through that to make sure that you're removing some barriers for them, if you will, so that they're ready for the year. So, and you guys have painted a really good picture for us as far as what family may be interested in this, but let's really focus on the fact that this is no tuition. So I want families to understand that this isn't like a free trial and then they're going to start getting charged in November or something. This is a no tuition, no cost at the families for 6th graders and 7th graders.
Yeah, that's right, Jamie. There is no cost, in terms of tuition, but there's no fees, for our clubs or intervention. There's no cost associated. Even our materials we send free of charge because we want all children across the country, if they're going to thrive in a virtual environment, we don't want the barriers of access to become the problem. We want to remove those barriers and make sure every child can access a high quality education.
I went back in preparation for this. I went back and watched our video from last year. And I think I said something towards the end about I can't wait because you guys were doing something new. And I said, I can't wait until next year to see and hear the stories about how your work has benefited families. And here we are a year later, and you guys have that under your belt and are getting ready to launch for now 7th grade in addition to 6th. So this is exciting. I want to thank you both so much for taking some time to share with us. For viewers who are watching, other providers, we have recently started a membership subscription, and Great Minds Virtual is one of our providers that is subscribed to our membership. When we do things like this, we bring our audience to you and bring you to our audience just to help make sure that people understand their K-12 options, what's available. Again, Great Minds Virtual is available throughout the nation. So this is not specific to West Virginia. So if anybody's watching outside of West Virginia, we dropped a link in the comments. We'll share that everywhere. Ladies, anything else to add today before we sign off?
We just wanted to say thank you, Jamie, to you and your team. We're so happy to be back a year later. And to your audience, thank you for listening to us. And we hope to engage with you soon in our admission process.
That's right. That's great.
Yeah, you can learn more about us at greatmindsvirtual.org. We have a podcast, we're on social media. So check us out, get a taste of what it's like to be a student at GMB, and we would love to hear more from you as well.
And you guys
Thanks,
have
Jamie.
you have some events coming up too. So we'll post those opportunities in the comments and make sure that they're connected. And if anybody has any questions, they can reach out directly to you all. So thanks so much for being with us. Have a great Wednesday afternoon.
You too.
Thanks, Jamie.